Welcome to Jobs and Pods, the only podcast where you can hear real employers talk about their jobs and reveal what it's like to work there. I'm your host, Peter Clayton. This Jobcast will feature the staffing group for Intel Corporation. Intel is the world's largest semiconductor company and has its headquarters based in Santa Clara, California, with offices located worldwide. Joining us now is Carl Rimby, a campus recruiting manager in their U.S. college recruiting group. Carl, welcome to Jobs and Pods.
Thanks, Peter.
Can you tell us a little bit about your role and how long you've worked for Intel?
Sure, be happy to. I've been at Intel for 8 years. All of that's been in the staffing organization. And I would really say that I think I've got just about the best job at Intel because I have the opportunity to travel around the country to campuses and conferences and talk with students, the very brightest students, I think, in the country, and get them to hopefully consider Intel as a potential employer.
So what's it like to work at Intel, and why is it such a great place to work?
You know, Intel is very fast-paced, and that's something that I think takes some getting used to. But it's very, very exciting. It's always evolving in terms of the work that you're doing, in terms of the projects that you're working on, extremely high energy. I think you'll constantly be having the opportunity to be doing new and interesting work.
So, Carl, why is Intel such a great place to work, in your opinion?
Well, personally, I've really enjoyed, Peter, the time at Intel because of the people that I work with. You know, all the teams that I've had a chance to be on are full of really smart people. They're highly motivated to work together to solve problems and really to move the organization or the project forward. You know, I'm not a technical person. My background is actually in business and economics, but I found it really rewarding to also to be part of a company that's helping create new technology and really it's continuing to change the world. From a personal, professional perspective, I've really had a lot of opportunities to engage with a lot of different projects within staffing and human resources that have really helped me develop as a professional.
I'd like to kind of go back a little bit to what you had said earlier in the interview and the fact that you do travel around to college campuses all around the country. Can you tell us what are some of the questions you're asked most often about the application process at Intel?
We get asked, I think, a lot of questions, you know, while we're on campus. How do I engage? What's the best time to do that? So there are a lot of different things that we get asked by students. I think that the big three, though, are really, you know, does Intel hire a lot of students? I think there's not a lot of insight out there to that. And the answer to that is we hire a lot of students for both internships and for what we call RCG or recent college graduate opportunities. Mm-hmm. You know, without giving specific numbers, it's hundreds in both categories. My organization has responsibility for engaging with students in the U.S. for positions in the U.S. as well as internationally. So we're very actively recruiting for students, primarily with the right to work in other countries besides the U.S. We're very interested in students that would be interested in returning to India, to China, to Vietnam, to Argentina, and a variety of European countries as well. As far as the U.S. is concerned, we do hire international students for selected positions, although there's quite a bit of government regulation involved. We are and do hire students where there are shortages of U.S. workers.
You know, they say timing is everything, and a job search is certainly no exception. When should a candidate start looking for an intern position at Intel?
Peter, I think the simple answer is it's a lot earlier than you think. We define a recent college graduate as someone that will graduate within 18 months or has graduated within 18 months. So there's really a 36-month window there. Mm-hmm. You know, realistically, most people are going to be within a year of graduation, you know, before we make them a full-time offer. For interns and for subsequent year recent college graduates, the fall is really our most active time, so September through November. We're out on campus really starting right after Labor Day.
And how about a permanent position, Carl? When's the best time to apply for a permanent position?
But I would say the key is don't wait till the spring, 2 months before you graduate. Engage with us in the fall. And make sure that your fall career fairs or at those fall conferences, because the lion's share of our recruiting activity for, you know, in this case 2009, is going to take place in September, October, and November of 2008.
Can you describe your ideal candidate to us?
Boy, so I can, and it's something that is really one of the key things that we're trained to look for when we're on campus, and it's more than just technical expertise. So something that we didn't really touch on is kind of who do we hire. From an engineering perspective, the list is long. It's really electrical engineers, chemical engineers, materials scientists, mechanical engineers, chemistry, physics. From a technical perspective, there's really a place for, I think, most anyone. Something that's become very prevalent is hiring in the computer science and computer engineering space, something that a lot of people don't really think of Intel as, offering opportunities in. But beyond the technical, types of expertise, we really look for people that are going to be, that they're smart, they're problem solvers. You really need to be, I think, inquisitive to work at Intel because you're going to be presented with something new. You've really got to have the desire to dig into it and figure out it's a solution to the problems that you're faced with. You need to be a team player. I think that's critical. Due to the scope of the projects that we work on, we're a global company. You can't be successful here without working with your team and with your teammates. Some other things, Peter, would be being able to communicate effectively, whether that's written, verbal, or in presentation mode. You have to be able and willing to put your ideas out on the table for consideration.
One more question for you around the ideal candidate, Carl. Now, you spoke a lot about people with engineering degrees, and obviously that's something that you hire a lot of, and computer scientists and mathematicians. How about good old business degrees, people in marketing or sales? People like me, perhaps? Yeah, people like you.
Peter, it's a great question, and I'm sorry I didn't speak to that earlier. In the business space, we do hire a lot of what we call non-technical people, although they're certainly technically competent in their area of expertise. In the business space, we hire quite a few bachelors as well as MBAs in supply chain management, finance and accounting, human resources. So there's a variety of different, I guess what you call non-engineering or non-technical opportunities at Intel.
Do you have any advice for someone eager to start their career at Intel?
I would say, make sure that you can demonstrate via your resume and via your interview that you are technically solid, as possible that you can be in your field. Having evidence of doing research if you're an undergrad, being involved in extra projects or publishing as a graduate student, outside of just what's required is something that I think is very, very important. Another thing is make sure that you engage with this earlier. We kind of talked about this previously, but engage with this to get internship experience, whether it's with Intel or another company. That's something that we value highly when we're looking at candidates. It's not just, I've got a degree, I'm ready to go. It's what other things do you bring to the table besides that degree. And also, I think something that is a huge benefit and is often overlooked is learning about behavioral interviewing and how to engage in that sort of interview. A lot of major companies use it, including Intel. And I think it's something that really, if you're not prepared for it, can kind of throw you for a loop during the interview. But if you know a little bit about it and what to expect, you can really perform, to your peak capability during that interview.
I think that's some terrific advice. One thing that a number of hiring managers have told me is that things that impress them is someone who comes with really good questions to ask in an interview, so that when the Carl Wimbrys of the world go, so do you have any questions for me? Be sure that you have some, right?
I absolutely could not agree more. The questions that you ask very often are more telling about your knowledge and your expertise than the answers that you give. It just really can help you stand out in the interview. The worst thing you could possibly do would be to interview or ask you a question would be to say, nope, I think you've answered all my questions. I'm going to show that person the door.
Exactly. Well, Carl, thank you so much for joining us today on Jobs and Pods. One last question for you. How would somebody apply at Intel? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
So the best thing to do is, because we receive a tremendously high volume of applications, so the unfortunate reality is that we can't deal with every individual via email or via telephone. The best thing to do is to go to intel.com/jobs/students that takes you to our Student Center, Peter. There you can select a region where you can explore different opportunities, learn more about some of the different programs that we didn't have a chance to talk about here, and really educate yourself at a greater level of detail about where you might fit at Intel. On the left navigation bar within that website, there'll be a job search button. If you click there, what we'd like you to do so that we can identify you as someone from Jobs and Pods is to apply to requisition number 555124. What that will do is take you through a series of supplemental questions so that our internal recruiters will have all the information that they need to match you to a specific opportunity.
That will do it for this edition of Jobs and Pods. I'd like to thank Carl for joining us today. For more Jobcasts with Intel, visit jobsandpods.com, and don't forget you can also subscribe to our Jobcasts on iTunes. Just do a keyword search